What's going on? My name is Montelle Harvey, and this is Debate. Here we will endeavor to discuss issues without prejudice and without bias. Let's meet our debaters.
Hi, my name is Ronnie.
Hello, my name is Don.
And my name is Rob.
There will be two teams. One team will be for the issue. The other team will be for the opposition. Each team will have an opportunity to present their argument, and they will have an opportunity to execute their argument. You, the viewer, will judge how well each team made their points. The debaters do not necessarily have to agree with the points, they just need to be able to argue the points. All right, let's get into the actual issue. The issue. Marissa Sargent, a Pennsylvania woman, alleges that her 14-year-old son was unlawfully beaten by the police upon being arrested for shoplifting at a Tullytown, Pennsylvania Walmart. The police claim that they did not beat her son, but that her son was in fact resisting arrest, and they needed to apply force in order to restrain and protect him. The cops said that once he was handcuffed, he then tried to escape. So they then shot him with a taser, and because his hands were cuffed behind his back, he was unable to brace himself for the fall, and he consequently fell on his face. Now, will the police get away with this, or have they in fact fallen on their faces? Now that we know the issue, let's hear the affirmative side.
I'm appalled that y'all stand on this side of the issue and not on this side. I would assume my brothers that y'all will be over here too. But no judgment. I don't understand how this is not police brutality, excessive force. There's a 14-year-old boy allegedly stealing. Police are not the court and the judge. That's a whole system to that. So he's allegedly stealing. And he's running away from the police, handcuffed behind his back. And we see the picture of his face, and it looks like mush. They say it's because he fell tased. I don't see how that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like a police magic bullet that hits him in the face, over his shoulder, causing him to fall forward. There's so many holes to the story that the police are saying. It doesn't make any sense.
And I mean, my argument is, piggybacking off of his argument, I argue that there should have been some sort of discretion. If it's a 14-year-old kid, I mean, you have to kind of take into account, was he a big kid? I don't think that the same amount of force should be used on, 14-year-old kid that's 100 pounds versus the 14-year-old kid, which is a shame, that's 300 pounds. But there's no way you can tell me if that kid is 100 pounds that you needed to use that amount of force for that child, no matter what the situation. Our position is that there was too much force used on this child.
What do you think, Ronnie?
From the facts that I have, I believe that the police were within their right and they were doing their job. I believe that police brutality is too strong of a word, and I believe that people have jumped to the conclusion of using the words police brutality in this case. And I think the cops were within their right.
I agree with that, because I feel like we so quickly jump to police brutality because of our own bias. You know, because that's what we call it. It's police brutality. Anytime the police is doing their job, all of a sudden it's brutality. And let's say that it was police brutality, or because a lot of the story is hearsay based on both sides of the issue. When we get down to the bottom line, unfortunately, our little brother stole. He stole something. You know what I'm saying? So he committed a crime. So our position is that the police were well within their rights to do their jobs and to protect and serve. But unfortunately, it wasn't our little brother that was being protected. It was the establishment. So that's our position.
Is there a better way to do the job of the police to protect the establishment that he was allegedly stealing from, so that he goes and gets his just due? They're not supposed to be enforcers, right? They're supposed to apprehend somebody who's a suspect of a crime and get them to the next step, which is book in, quick lockup, let's go to court so we can argue this. Whether I'm stealing, what's my punishment for it? Not the police dishing out the punishment. from what it looks like, it's more than just I fail with my handcuffs behind me.
Well, but you have to look at the whole situation. It wasn't just that. Like, you know, the story says that the young man did not go peaceably. You know, he was resisting arrest.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say he was resisting arrest and he was trying to escape, and he already has a lack of authority, clearly, because he's stealing.
That's biased.
Well, how can you respect authority because if you're stealing, you're lying? That's, to me, that's a lie, because you're stealing. That's the fact of the story. The fact is that he stole something.
Allegedly.
No, there's no.
We're not the court.
We're not the
But
court.
there's no allegedly to it, though.
No. That's
actually the story.
Because we're as Americans, we are granted due process in this country, and that is that we are not guilty. Unfortunately, and when we play in the semantic game, we seem to be a little bit more found guilty on the front end before we even get into the courtroom. We have empirical evidence that show that it is a disproportionate amount of force being used with people of color. Not only black people, just literally people of color versus other people. It's a known fact that we get pulled over more. We get, booked more for other different things. So it's not like we're just saying this. And then also with the media, that is reckless journalism to a certain extent. Yeah, you could put that out there, but you definitely need to submit that it's allegedly. Because I guarantee if this was a little white kid, allegedly would be plastered all throughout the whole article.
However, though, in this particular instance, the mother already admitted that the son. The mother admitted that the son was caught stealing, and it was probably due to peer pressure.
That's what she said.
That's allegedly.
No, the mother.
We're not the court.
Hold up, though. The mother said that. So I mean, just dealing with the facts. The mother said that he was
She said most
he was
likely.
arrested.
So that's
hold up. He was arrested with himself being a 14-year-old boy, as well as two older relatives who were above the age of 18. The mother said that they were arrested for shoplifting. Mm-hmm. The mother claimed that it was peer pressure of why her son would have been shoplifting. Okay? So whether or not, it was peer pressure or it wasn't or whatever, she still admitted that he committed the crime.
No.
That's
not guilt. She said
peer pressure, you're admitting that a crime took place and that he was involved with it. Okay.
No.
So
and then on top of that, let's say you guys are standing on this allegedly thing, right? Mm-hmm. But the cops have a right. The cops, a patrol officer, security, any of them have a right to detain a person in order to find out what happened, to get the person's identity, who they are, check their person to see if the item in question is on their person. So that's a part of the law too. So if this young man was resisting, then in and of itself, resisting is breaking the law.
But resisting,
so he was you would never have it. Okay, so 2 points. You would never have an opportunity to be beaten or to be mistreated by law enforcement had we as a people, we as brothers, we as a community, never committed the crime in the first place. So
that's
still, we get back.
I'm not wrong.
When we get back to the bottom line, when we get
how
back
is that a fallacy?
Because you're talking about
that's a fallacy.
It's a fallacy.
Hold up.
That's not the issue.
Make sure
let's
you
get
stay
it.
within the issue, though.
Okay, we're gonna stay on the issue.
Because
arguing the allegedly word is a distraction. The police did something wrong. His face, both eyes are swollen. His nose is broken. Allegedly
Allegedly attributed to the police. That's allegedly attributed to the police.
So he was in cuffs. That's not allegedly.
So we're gonna argue.
Hold on, I got it. He was in cuffs. That's not allegedly, right?
Just as his mother said.
Okay, but hold on. Let me get that.
So
if you put me in cuffs, I have got put in cuffs by someone with cuffs. That means someone has an interaction with me already. They said, okay, we're starting this process of arresting you for something that you allegedly do that we will prove in court. That is the process, right? And it's the job of the police to get you to the next step safely. Somehow this 14-year-old boy, we don't know. We don't know how he got away from the police. We don't know if he's just an amazing ninja and took off running. Or we don't know if the cop was being negligent to bait you to tase you or shoot you. We don't know what happened. But what he said is, what the police representative said was, hey, we tased this person after saying stop as he was fleeing from the police. If I'm fleeing from the police and you have a magical boomerang taser, I need to know about that. because somehow he got hit in the face, which is what they said, not allegedly. They said he got hit in the face.
Which is the same thing as what the mother said.
Right.
He
got
committed
hit.
a crime.
He got hit in the face by a taser. But you tell me how I can hit you in the face if you're running away from me, so that you fall forward with your hands behind your back, unable to brace yourself. So tell me how that happens, because I don't believe it. I don't believe that he was either running away or they didn't do something extra. There's no way for that to happen.
I've been, detained by cops or whatever, where I've been placed in cuffs. Sometimes you were separated so that they can, talk to the people so they can get order, whatever, going in the system. So if they needed to detain him and put him in cuffs, that's fine. What no one is arguing here as well is that the little boy tried to get away. The mother didn't refute that. The little boy didn't refute that. The cop said in the process. So right there, we've already set up an establishment for resisting arrest. To some extent, whether the boy just got nervous and felt guilty and,
or he was afraid.
Or he was afraid or whatever. Either way, though, we've established some reasonable doubt in the sense of resisting arrest.
All right, so my argument is that as a man, I can judge what it takes to take down a 14-year-old and a 30-year-old. Just like you said, it doesn't matter. It does matter.
It does matter.
Because then now you're bringing up things where not only is this going to be a criminal trial, if they have a decent lawyer, it's going to be a civil trial after that.
But a 38-year-old and a 14-year-old can both fire a gun and kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? If we're arguing that sense, you know what I'm saying?
In the law, they have something called the use of force continuum. And the use of force continuum has different levels to it. And level 2 states that the cops issue an order, and then based on the resistance, they match the resistance with force. So the cops were well within their duty because they yelled at him warnings. Clearly, something happened. He didn't heed to the warnings, so then he got tased, and subsequent things happened.
But why is it always with us? It's just once you get to the outside.
Hold on, but you talked about bias earlier. No. You said this show's about not bias. A police officer has bias. You got bias. I got bias. I'm just saying, all bias. No. We all have bias. You can't walk around like, oh, you know what? I don't see color. I don't see age. I don't see stereotypes. I don't see my prejudice or my emotions connected to a person or anybody in a crime. So if I'm a police officer and I've been doing the job of police work, I'm going to create a more intrinsic bias based on the community that I police in and what they look like.
But we cannot discuss that because we were not there.
I don't know his bias. What I'm saying is, I cannot believe that you're standing on that side saying, I'm just rolling with what the police said. It's his fault. His mama said anything. But you're saying that. I'm saying, how does that not become police brutality? How does that be excessive force? How is that not them doing their job with extras attached to it?
Because you weren't there. You don't know what happened.
But what we do know is something happened. Something was stolen. Police were called. Hold on. Police were called. This young man was in cuffs. And somehow, another story of a black boy in cuffs ends up with extra injuries. You said you've been in cuffs. You said you've been in cuffs. You said you've been in cuffs. I've been in cuffs. Right. Even if I ran, I'd expect something maybe like what happens on Cops. You chase me down, you put me on the ground. Does that mean you hit me in the face while I'm running away? How does that happen?
But here's the thing.
Magic bullet JFK. Stop that. No. I don't believe them because you can't prove to me that you hit me in the face. Prove it.
But see, here's the thing.
We're going to argue that. No, argue that. You said it's not. How do you hit a young man in the face running away from you? Go.
If you're going at a certain speed, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, and you do, once again, you can't brace yourself, I would imagine for his bruises to be more extreme than had he been able to brace himself. You know what I'm saying?
And furthermore,
so once again, we don't know. We don't know what direction he's heading in. We don't know.
You guys are arguing all these things that we don't know.
Well,
when you get to two things, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Two things. The only thing that we have is that a crime was committed. Everything else, how he got bruised up, all of that stuff, we don't know, so we can't argue that. Yeah, in the situation, the cop has bias. This person has bias in the situation, but they were there. But since we are arguing the fact, and in a court of law, nobody was there, so they're just going to look at the facts. All we have are the facts. What happened is a crime took place. If he had never been there, he had never been in that situation, he would never
And
have
that's the
gotten
fallacy.
tased.
Because people commit crimes every day.
That's what I'm
the reason why we
saying.
have police.
If that was the case, if young Trayvon just would have stayed at home and then buy that
didn't
Skittles
like tea.
and those Arizona teas, he would be living today.
If you
But
didn't have a
Trayvon didn't
car,
commit a crime. He's not accused of committing a crime.
No, but
he was
that's-
innocent.
No,
of
but
everything.
the same story.
The same story was framed.
if you didn't do what you
These guys are
did,
killing
then
me.
I wouldn't have deserved to give you
Thank
this
you.
punishment.
No one
Yeah.
said that he deserved to have any form of
Nobody's
punishment because
saying
we
that.
don't know if that punishment was actually given to him by the police.
Okay.
We don't
Also,
know.
he
let me wrap it up. Let me wrap up my point real
Like,
quick.
Here's
Here's
the-
my,
Okay,
let me wrap it up. Let me wrap it up this side.
Closing thoughts.
Here's my closing
Closing
point.
thoughts, and we'll do our.
This debate is an extension of a system that says this. We don't know. We might be over punishing them, but I'm gonna say we didn't. Trust me as a system. Trust me as a cop, because I'm here to protect and serve. You too, brothers of brownness, all scale, Latino, Asian, all that. But we are gonna over punish because we know it in our communities. We hear the stories of how what the law says they are supposed to do and what happened on the corner, on the street, at the park, at the party, at the store. Whether or not I did something wrong or not is not how it goes. It doesn't go by the book. There's an extension of my story in his story. I've seen it, I've felt it, and I've heard about it. And what I'm saying is, I'm not just gonna roll with he fell down, we hit him in the face with a taser somehow magically while he was running away with his cuffs that I put on him behind his back. I'm not accepting that. And the reason why is because there's too many other stories like this where we see their bias showing up in brutality.
And just to piggyback off of his point, I just don't want us to fall into, and I don't want us to get normalized to the perception of this is what it is. Because if we're gonna play the numbers game, and if we're gonna keep it empirical, 1 in 3 black men have been or will probably be in prison. So these are the numbers that we're playing with. So when you're saying the things of bias and things of that nature, police are coming into a situation with a certain bias. And
Okay.
police are coming to a certain situation with a certain
wait.
bias. But the
I
thing
can't
is,
wait.
the difference between the bias and force, that's what the argument is going to always be. Because as a lawyer, if I was his lawyer, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to say, okay, well, because there has to be documented stops of 14-year-old children. And this is what you do to 14-year-old children. Oh, but he was bruised up like this. Like any great defense lawyer, I wish Johnny Cochran was here, would poke holes in all portions of this case.
Okay.
From him being locked
Okay.
up, from him
Cochran was
running
not a
away, and
great
all of
lawyer.
that.
Okay.
That's not the issue.
That's
here.
another-
That's not-
That's yeah. So okay. So from my perspective is, you guys are unable to separate your past experience and past cases from this situation. If what I'm saying is that had he never been in the situation, then he never would have had to reap any type of.
And I don't think that's the issue. And
Okay.
that's why
Okay.
it feels like it's off base.
Okay.
And in my closing, dealing with the facts and dealing with the overall issue, you know what I'm saying? This happened in Philly, correct?
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Police Department, like most police departments, across the nation, have a history of racial profiling, discrimination, X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Philadelphia, even deeper when going back to the bombing of the Move 9 and all the other, organizations that happened there in Philly. So, is it far-fetched to say that police brutality still exists in Philadelphia Police Department? No, not at all. That's not the case. What the case is and what we're dealing with here specifically, though, today is a crime occurred that this young man was a part of in some degree. That was the first violation that's stated in our laws. The second violation is that at some point someone was resisting arrest. Okay? That's the second violation. So once again, it's not far-fetched to say that the cops on this particular day, in this particular instance, were acting within their means, within their rights.
He was resisting
However,
arrest? How do you know he was resisting arrest?
Let him finish.
However, I'm not here arguing that the young man deserved to be beaten, deserved to have any form of physical, whatever done to him. We don't know. And until we have the facts of point A to point B to point Z, we can't sit here and say whether the kid was wrong or say whether the police officers are right. All we can sit here and say is it's possible.
And a crime was committed.
And that a crime was committed. All we know for sure is that a crime was committed. So it's possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have just bear witness to a very heated argument or debate between two teams, four brothers. Now you be the judge on who won this particular bout, and also weigh in with your opinions of what you think. We'd love to hear them. Thank you so much. My name is Montelle Harvey.
I don't believe that the police should get off scot-free or something if they actually were excessive.
Police usually do.
What
that
I'm
stuff.
saying though is, I'm not going to limit myself and say that, okay, maybe the cops in this case weren't actually in the right. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. I'm totally pro black people, pro, you know what I'm saying?
That's not pro. You want to know something? People
That's
get it
scary,
misconstrued. It's not pro black. It's pro humanity.
people, yeah.
But
It's pro
even
people.
pro people, but that's what I'm saying.